Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. My special guest tonight is Larry Sharpe. He is a commentator. He's the host of Sharpe the Right Way on YouTube. And he has also been a Libertarian candidate for governor for the state of New York. What's going on, Larry? It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, but sadly, I wear my governor's shirt today to show that I did run before, but it was not a good run. I got my butt kicked both times, but I still kept fighting at least. I did.
This is true. So, Larry, I have to get into what happened at the Libertarian National Convention because it was quite a story this time around. I don't think I've ever heard this much about the Libertarian National Convention before, but this year it was very popular, in particular because RFK Jr. received a nomination from Libertarian Party, and then also Donald Trump spoke at the Libertarian Party National Convention. I want to start with RFK Jr. because there was a little bit of confusion. I think there was the announcement on social media that RFK Jr. received the Libertarian nomination. And some people on social media assumed that that meant he was the Libertarian nominee. He was the nominee for the party. So could you explain to people, like, what exactly happened there? Why did the party itself decide to extend a nomination to RFK Jr.? And why do you think some people were confused that he was the nominee for the party?
What most people don't understand is how the Libertarian Party actually works, the internal workings of it. I won't go crazy, but just to make you understand, basically, at our convention, that day is how we decide who our nominee will be. It does not matter. It doesn't matter what you do, who you are, irrelevant. That is the day that we decide. During that time, anyone can be nominated from the floor. You can nominate Donald Trump. You can nominate you. It does not matter. Anyone can be nominated from the floor. Anyone. And there are certain rules. You have to somehow be registered in some way to the Libertarian Party in some way, meaning at a local level or national level. And people have to agree that you should do it. Someone has to also agree. Can't be one person seconded. And you have to accept it. So literally, Sabrina, if I wanted to, I could have gone down there and I could have said, hey, I nominate Sabrina for president, to be president of the United States for our party, be our nominee. I could have done so. And if you had accepted, and if you had paid $25 to a Libertarian Party someplace in the country, you could run for our presidential nomination. It is literally that simple. It's very simple to do. So there are, within the Libertarian Party, it's probably about 10% is my guess. There's a chunk of Libertarians who want RFK to be our nominee. And the reason why, some of them actually like RFK, some don't, but some want it because he's popular. And what many people don't know is what all third parties struggle with. And you see it with Jill Stein, you see it with Dr. Cornel West, you see it with RFK Jr., is ballot access. The ballot access laws are horribly terrible. They keep us out. They are prohibitive. They are an embarrassment to our nation. Someone like RFK Jr., if we put him on our line, he'll get the appropriate number of votes to give us ballot access. So some people wanted him just to be on, whether he was Libertarian or not, just so we get the votes, so we'd have ballot access, so we could run our party in certain states. That was what people wanted. The problem is with Libertarians, not that many Libertarians actually wanted him to be our nominee. So he ran for the nomination that day. And that's it. That's how that works. He ran for the nomination that day, along with about 7 or 8 other Libertarians. At the end of the day, Chase Oliver was the one selected.
But why do you think some people assume that with that announcement, because it was all over Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days?
People don't understand. That's why. He was nominated. That's true. Someone from the floor said, I want to nominate Robert Kennedy Jr. to be our presidential candidate. That is an accurate statement. However, it doesn't hold the same meaning as it does in other parties. But the statement itself was accurate. But it doesn't mean he was our nominee for the general election.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. There was also the phone call, the epic phone call video that happened from Angela, where she was calling RFK Jr. And that's
because, again, to get nominated to be there, you have to accept it. So she called him. Do you accept it? He went, oh, okay, yeah. That's what happened, basically. He didn't ask for it. His people didn't ask for it. People in the Libertarian Party, a small percentage, obviously he lost the first round, a small percentage wanted him. So, but you can't just do it. You have to accept. If I had nominated you, Sabrina, somebody would have had to call you and say, hey, Sabrina, you accept this nomination. And if you would have said no, you can't be in the running. And then we do basically a runoff vote. We run to see who gets 50% plus one. Whoever does not get that in the first round, the bottom 5% removed, you do another round. And you keep voting until someone gets 50% plus one. It is a modified form of kind of like ranked choice voting.
So why do you think it seems like the majority did not want RFK Jr. As Libertarian nominee? Why do you think he lost in the first round?
Well, two things. One, he didn't really ask for it. So it wasn't like he had people. Again, for our party, if you want to win the nomination, you have to bring delegates to the convention. There are about 1,000 delegates. We had about 900 or so. About 1,000 delegates usually will show up. They're selected from each state. They all come and show up. RFK Jr. didn't want this thing. So he didn't spend the time, money, and energy to collect enough delegates to then show up at the convention to then vote for him. Random people can't vote. You have to be selected by your state as a delegate, and you show up at the convention. Well, he wasn't ready for this. He didn't do it. He didn't want it. He didn't ask for it. So there was no one to do so. Everyone else who was there, who was actually running, had been to state conventions, had tried to coerce people to show up, to vote for them, had done phone calls. Hey, Sabrina, you're going to be in D.C. Do me a favor, vote for my guy, right? I was whipping the floor too. So you whip the floor. That's how it works. Again, most people don't know how this works. It's not a common way of electing your presidential nominee. And that's why he didn't get it.
It's just weird because in interviews, that was not the way he made it sound. There were multiple interviews that he did where he said that he was already talking to people in the Libertarian Party.
Hold on, let's be clear. This happened starting last year. There was a time when he was considering becoming the Libertarian nominee. That is true. There was a time. He then announced probably 2 months ago, I'm going to guess, in that area. No, he was flirting with it. So was Justin Amash in 2020. He flirted with it too and then said no. People flirt with the idea of the Libertarian Party often because usually we have the most and best ballot access in the entire country. And we still do this time. We still will have the best ballot access. In the past 8 years, except this year, we've had ballot access in all 50 states. This year, we will not have that. But in the past, we always had that. And the hardest thing to do, as I mentioned, is to get ballot access. Jesse Ventura said it. Jesse Ventura said, I'm not running for the Green Party because I can't get ballot access. You get me ballot access in 50 states, I'll run. He said that openly. You can't get it is virtually impossible to get ballot access in 50 states. It will cost you millions upon millions of dollars. RFK Jr. now is being sued in many states. They're trying to sue him off the ballot because they do not want it. And the American people don't know this. Many people tell me all the time, if you guys would run better candidates, how can I? When literally you will throw me off the ballot. I dropped personally in my last 2022 race. I raised $500,000. I spent $400,000 trying to get ballot access and got sued off the ballot by the Republicans. Literally sued off the ballot. I did 8 separate lawsuits, 4 federal and 4 state. Dropped 6 figures. They spent 6 figures in lawyers getting rid of me, and they got me off the ballot. Judges across the country every single year spend time throwing people off the ballot, utterly unconstitutionally, utterly wrong. It's absolutely bad, makes no sense. Do it all the time. That's how Obama got his seat in Chicago. In Illinois, he sued his opponent off the ballot. That is a normal thing. He did it in New York. Republicans sued their own off the ballot. And judges, shame on every judge, I hope they're watching, who would dare throw someone off the ballot because of a party attack. Shame on you. Parties are not part of the Constitution. Parties, we were warned about parties back from George Washington. They're a terrible idea. And what we have right now is a system to where 2 private companies control all of our elections. That's the reality of what we have right now. And they are not obligated, and federal courts have already said so, Democrats, Republicans are not obligated to give us free or fair elections within their parties at all. Bernie Sanders found that out the hard way. I'm sorry, you got me going, Sabrina. I apologize.
No, it's fine. No, I was curious just because I will say Jill Stein was able to get on the ballot in over 40 states when she ran for president in 2016. Yes. She's 40, dealing with her own lawsuits. As well. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow because she's being sued again. So is RFK Jr. I'm going to talk about both of those tomorrow.
I have been on with Greens too, by the way, like Howie Hawkins and I, when we ran at the same time in 2018, we sued together, right? I've sued with Green parties many times. I jump on the Green Party with me, Constitution Party. Third parties need to, when it comes to this type of action, we should be working together, because if we don't fix the system, none of us win. None of us win.
Why do you think that some people, in particular, when I think about the Libertarian Party, the first thing that comes to mind to me is anti-war. That's just the first thing I think about with the Libertarian Party. So why do you think that some people thought RFK Jr. would be a good choice, other than the fact that he has the Kennedy name?
No, I think I explained it. The reality of it is, what Kennedy does well when it comes to libertarians, he doesn't pretend to be one of us. He's not. What he does when he comes to us is he says that he talks the things that we agree upon, which is why he got a warm reception, right? He comes in and says what he agrees upon. He agrees on medical freedom. He agrees on farm freedom. He agrees on ending all the problems we have with our food system, chronic disease. He agrees those things that we do. Libertarians also agree. He doesn't talk about things that he doesn't agree with, which is why it's a smart move for him, right? If I were to go to the Green Party, I wouldn't talk about things that we don't agree upon, right? I would talk about things that we agree upon. And often when I've hung out with single issue voters, anti-war is a common denominator with libertarians, Greens, even the LaRouche people. They're all like anti-war. So he speaks about common denominators. Trump got booed horribly at our convention because he didn't do that. Trump came in and said, I'm great, I'm a libertarian, vote for me. And we booed him horribly because he said he was one of us. Most people wanted Bobby for two reasons. And there's logic to this, to be forward. In fact, I would argue that if Bobby Kennedy is the only guy on your ballot in your state, whether you agree with him or not, you should vote for him. And why would I say that? Third parties need to break this system, right? If you've got someone else on your ballot, you don't like Bobby Kennedy, I get it. But in my case in New York State, I'm only going to have Bobby on my ballot except for Trump and Biden. That's all I'm going to have. No one else got ballot access. So if you have options, take your options. If you don't, Bobby's the right answer. Why? Because I would rather break the system so that others can get in than anything else. And I think many libertarians were like, I want to get in, I want to break this system. And that's what they thought. And I get it. The logic isn't that many libertarians thought that Bobby was libertarian. That isn't the logic. They were like, no. We need him so that we can get ballot access, so that we can run our candidates, because without it, we can't. There will be no libertarians on the ballot in New York State this year. None. Zero. Not one. Zero. None. That is how bad it is. In fact, there'll be no Greens also in New York State. None. There'll be no LaRouche, not one LaRoucheite. There'll be no Constitution Party. None. None of them will be in the ballot. We are shut out in the fourth largest state in the union. So you can see why people would say, hey, I don't care, I'll take RFK. Get me ballot access so I can fight in my state. We can't fight in our states anymore.
Right, but don't you think it's a bad look for the party when you have someone, if you have someone who is...
It's a worse look when you can't vote for anybody. What, are you kidding me?
Right, but wait, but Larry, wait a minute, but Larry, let me finish. Don't you think it is a bad look for the party when you have someone that is pursuing the idea, or was pursuing the idea of running with the Libertarian Party, a party that is staunchly anti-war, and they are out there having this rhetoric against the Palestinian people, calling them the most pampered people in the world. They're on Twitter actually telling people, give Israel everything that they need to finish the job. Don't you think that's a bad look?
He lost the first round.
Right, but it was still entertained. Like that's the point.
Okay.
The whole point of the third,
not the point at all.
But the whole point of third parties, Larry, the whole point of third parties is that you're not supposed to be like the duopoly. If you're going to repeat the same methods and the same strategies and the same mindset that's happening in the two-party system, what is the point of the third party?
Okay, I need to be clear on this. He didn't win. He lost the first round. It is utterly unfair for anyone to say the libertarians brought on RFK Jr. to be a libertarian. He did not. Of course, what we did, which is what you should do too, and every party, is allow anyone who wants to be nominated that the people want to nominate, which we did. We didn't stop him from being nominated. We followed our bylaws. He was nominated, and he lost first round. You asked two separate questions. One was, is it a bad look? No, he didn't get nominated. So clearly libertarians didn't want him. But why would they? I explained why 10% of the Libertarian Party would want him. It was a mechanical issue to get ballot access. And for those people, they would say, I don't care. I need to save my state. I don't care. I can understand that logic. You may disagree with it, and I understand that, but it's not illogical for someone to go, I can't run in my state. I sue. I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't do it. To hell with it. I'll grab this guy so I can run. That's not crazy at all. Again, it didn't happen, but that's not crazy at all.
But the question I was asking is, don't you think that's a bad look for the party? If they're not agreeing with the party
If he had won, maybe, but he didn't. Okay, hold on. So let me be clear. All right. There have been terrible people who have run for the Green Party, who have run for the nomination of the Green Party, who've run for the nomination of the Republican Party, who've run for the nomination of the Democratic Party. Are they now judged by everybody who ran for the party, for the nomination? No. They're judged. They are judged by who wins the nomination. And you should judge us by who wins the nomination.
No, I judge you by the intentions. Like, so for example, I had the same criticism about Howie Hawkins running through the Green Party. I had the same criticism about Howie Hawkins. So this isn't like just an attack. Like, I'm not trying to attack the Libertarian Party. Yeah. I said the same thing about Howie Hawkins. Why would you have this guy running, knowing what he's saying when it comes to war, knowing like the war rhetoric that was coming from Howie Hawkins? I had that same criticism. I've had Green Party candidates on this show where I vented to them the same way, my frustrations, because it is a bad look in my opinion, because again, you're supposed to break the duopoly. You're not supposed to continue their faults. So that's just my take on that. That's my thing on the RFK Jr.
I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying, it's unfair. Here's what I'm saying is unfair. Howie Hawkins actually won the nomination of the Green Party.
I had that criticism before he even won the nomination.
And what I would say, if he didn't win the nomination, say he just ran and did not win, I would feel, this is my opinion, if he had run and not won, I would think that that's unfair. People can run for a nomination. The question is, does the party agree or not? But because somebody wants to run for a nomination, so the question is, did the party agree or not? That's the critical piece, right? Howard Stern tried to become a libertarian. He's not. But it doesn't mean that every libertarian is Howard Stern. Right? It means that he ran and he did not get the nomination. That's all I'm saying, right? And you asked me specifically, why would somebody want someone popular? Out of desperation. That is why somebody would, and about 10% did. They wanted out of desperation. I'm explaining why. That's all I'm saying. Some parties, some people in the party, without question, are tired of losing and failing, and they get desperate, and they want somebody to bring the party home and get ballot access when we fail constantly. That's all I'm saying. I hope that at least that was clear, at least if you disagree. At least I hope it's at least clear.
Well, so with Gary Johnson, for example, didn't Gary Johnson like break records through the Libertarian Party when he ran?
He did. I wish he'd run again. Absolutely. I love Gary Johnson. I was his surrogate in the media many times. I wish he'd run again. 100%. I love Gary Johnson. I came into the Libertarian Party because of Gary Johnson in 2012, 12 years ago. Big fan. I love Gary Johnson. To be very forward, one of the reasons, and this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? One of the reasons why the Green Party and the Libertarian Party doesn't get much talent to come in and run is because our infrastructure is broken and because we don't have ballot access like we used to have. We used to have ballot access. We don't anymore. When we don't have ballot access and don't have infrastructure, talented people don't want to run with us. They want to run with Democrats or run with Republicans because they have a chance at winning, and that's their issue. So it becomes chicken and egg. So some people I think you saw it with the Green Party. The Greens thought that Cornel West was going to be their savior. I think they thought that when he first said it. That's what they believed. Well, did they think he was the best candidate? Probably not. But they did think, oh my God, now we can become popular. We can now get our 2 or 3% in our state that we need. And we now can build infrastructure out. And we can now do things. I think many people in the Green Party believe that. I think libertarians fall for the same thing. You know, when you are constantly losing, constantly failing, I think people do try to make things happen. And you may disagree, I get it, but that's an issue.
Let's pivot to Donald Trump, though, because I think the big takeaway from Donald Trump's appearance at the Libertarian National Convention is that he was booed. And I want to hear a little bit about that. Why do you think people booed him?
Well, the problem is, to be full with you, I was worried when I saw we brought Vivek Ramaswamy, he spoke, Donald Trump spoke, and RFK Jr. spoke. And to be forward, and I said it publicly, I was a bit worried. I thought, oh my God, this could be a disaster. I thought people might think we're Republican light or something. And too many people already think we're basically Republicans. And we're not. It's just not true. But it doesn't matter. It's an image that a lot of people have of the Libertarian Party. I get it. So I was worried. I thought, oh my God, the media is just going to show him with libertarians and say that libertarians support Trump or something like that. I was worried. But it actually went very well. I was very happy. He came up and he was Trump. He came up and said, I'm your savior. I'm great. I'm libertarian. I'm going to do all these things. And we were like, no, you're not. Libertarians care about the debt tremendously. You know that. We are all about ending the Fed. We can't stand the national debt. It's a big thing. He's the biggest debt spender there was. Way worse. We hate about war. He was still bombing people just like Biden, just like Obama, just like Bush. He was bombing them too. So we looked at him and like, no, you're just like all the rest of them. No, we don't see any difference in you and anybody else. Now, the advantage, as I said, Vivek did something good too. Vivek didn't say he was libertarian. When Vivek showed up, he said, I used to be libertarian, but I'm not anymore. Let me tell you where we agree. And we like that. Anyone, if you come to us and go, let me tell you where we agree, we like to say, oh, good. Thank you, Vivek. We're not voting for you, but thank you. That was nice. We were happy. RFK Jr. came and said, let me tell you where we agree. Thank you. That was amazing. Happy. It's awesome. We're not voting for you. Clearly, you lost the nomination, but thank you for coming. No booze. Trump walked in thinking he owned the place. Trump walked in saying, I'm your only hope to win, blah, 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 all that stuff. And we said, boo, get out of here. We don't need you. So that's why it went that way. He did not do what the other two guys did, right? If Diane Sayer, if it happened to Diane Sayer, she runs here in New York. She will sometimes go to libertarian events. And what does she talk about? She talks about anti-war, which we're anti-war. And we go, yay, thank you, Diane. We're happy to come. She's not a libertarian. She's not running as a libertarian. But we love her because she comes in and speaks about the things that we agree upon. Single issue coalitions, when it comes to the third party, all third party, is critical. And if we can get them together to push certain agendas, I think we can actually make some change in the country. So I think that's good. But Trump didn't get that. Trump thought, I'm the cool guy. Come vote for me. And he got booed. Booed horribly.
Why? What do you think? What was he hoping? What do you think he was hoping to get out of that appearance? And why do you feel Trump was invited to speak at the convention? Or was he invited, or did he invite himself?
He was. Oh my God, no, we invite everybody. And the woman who runs the LNC is a woman named Angela McArdle. Angela McArdle runs the Libertarian National Convention. She is our chair. And she spent a lot of time, trying her best to do what she thought was right. And in that vein, she thought inviting lots of people would bring press. And the only people she invited Biden too. She invited everybody. And the people who said yes was Trump, Vivek, and RFK Jr. She just said, yes, okay, you're coming. And again, it was a gamble, but it did bring so much press. You're talking to me about it, right? Because it happened. It worked, right? It did work. People talked about it. People hear us. Hopefully we'll get us more press in the future. And it was a gamble, but it absolutely worked. It was to get more press, to get more eyeballs on our convention, and it totally worked.
Do you think? What do you think is the strategy here to try to get if Donald Trump were to win, or if Joe Biden, I guess, would have come as well?
Okay. Yes.
Try to get libertarians in his cabinet.
What Trump wants, and this is the thing that people don't realize, or some people are beginning to realize, this is the year for third parties. And whether people like Bobby Kennedy Jr. or not, he is the reason. He's the reason. And people go, but I don't like Bobby. Doesn't matter. He's the reason. Nobody cares about third parties until some big name runs as third party, whether that was Jesse Ventura in the 90s or whether that's RFK now. Big names matter. I know some people get mad. No, absolutely true. That's why I've spoken more about ballot access in the last year than every single libertarian has ever spoken about in the past 50 years combined. And it's all because Bobby Kennedy has trouble getting on the ballot. That's the reason. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. They care about names like Bobby Kennedy. And as much as that sucks, it's true. So him coming, this is the year. What does that mean? I want to grab as many bodies as I can get because third parties are going to decide this. This is the first time in our country that the largest group of voters is actually unaffiliated voters, not members of the Republican or Democratic Party. Third parties, everything. So where would you go? You want to go to the largest third party, which is Libertarian Party. We're the largest of all the third parties. We are the largest. We're still small, obviously, but of the small parties, we are the largest. We have the most ballot access. We have the most infrastructure, and we're inviting you. Why wouldn't you go? If I was running, I would go too. If I was Biden, I would have sent somebody. I probably wouldn't have gone if I was Biden, but I might have sent somebody to go, because if I get to go there and talk about issues that I care about, that we align with, you'll get some people to say yes. I am sure that some people in the Libertarian Party are going to vote for Bobby Kennedy Jr. I'm sure someone, they're not going to have Libertarian on their ballot. Like me, I won't have one on my ballot. I'd vote for Bobby Kennedy Jr. Of course I would. No one else is on my ballot. Of course I would. Right? Some people would have voted for whoever else would have shown up. Agree if Jill Stein would have, she was invited too. If Jill Stein would have shown up, there'd been people who would have voted for her. Right? Or Cornel West. Cornel West came to Libertarian Party of California. He was actually in a panel. I moderated the panel. For those of you who care, if you want to, you can go to my Larry Sharpe YouTube page, type in Cornel West, you can see it. It was about an hour panel. And we loved him there because he spoke about what we cared about. He spoke about ending the war on drugs. He talked about prison reform. He talked about criminal justice reform, which libertarians are all about. He spoke about what we agreed upon, and we loved it. He got a standing ovation. Cornel West got a standing ovation from the Libertarian Party of California because he spoke about what we like. So that means, again, there's some libertarians who aren't going to have Libertarian on the ballot. They're going to see Cornel West, and they're going to vote for him. And that's why you go to these types of spaces, to get as many of those votes as possible. If I was them, I would go too.
What do you think about the statement that Trump made when he said, do you guys want to continue to get like 3% or do you want to win?
It shows he doesn't know us. We never win. It's not like we win, right? I mean, we never win, of course. I mean, to be forward, if the Libertarian Party only wanted to make impact only and didn't care about anything, to be forward, we would have put RFK Jr. on our ballot. We would have. If we didn't care about anything else, if we just numbers, we would have put them on our ballot, of course. But that's not what we're about. You know this. You're a third-party person too. Third-party people, if we wanted to win, we wouldn't be third party. We'd be Democrats or Republicans. If we wanted just to get power, we'd be one of the two, right? We'd be one of the two. The reality of it is we know we're going to lose. And for him to say, well, you lose. Yeah, and? Right? Yeah, and? So what? So he didn't get that. He is accustomed to dealing with Democrats, Republicans who always think about winning. That's the issue. That's what it's about.
I saw a video from Pasta. Pasta was at the Libertarian National Convention, and yes. I saw a little quick interview that he did with Thomas Massie. Yep. And this is another question I have. Like, what do you think about libertarians like Thomas Massie, who they're libertarian, but he's a part of the Republican Party? Don't you think that someone like Thomas Massie, considering that he tends to have a pretty large constituency. I think he said he won got over 70% approval or whatever 100%. From his constituents. Why can't he just be a libertarian in Congress?
This is exactly the issue that we talk about all the time, right? And this is chicken and egg. We had a libertarian in Congress. His name was Justin Amash. We had him, and then he was very funny. He's like, I can't make anything happen. So he left. He couldn't make anything happen. The problem is when you become a third party, you have to be able to make things happen. Now, could Massie now become a libertarian? Maybe, but there's a second problem people don't realize. In Kentucky and many states, they have what's called straight ticket voting. And it's, again, totally unconstitutional. But if you live in Kentucky, it's like this, you know what I'm talking about. You walk in and you basically click Republican, and you now vote for every Republican. Yes. That's called straight ticket voting. Another horribly unconstitutional system that crushes third parties that people don't know about. Yes. So if you're a third party, the average person who walks in, a Democrat, Republicans, who they are, most people are, and walk in and go Democrat, walk in and go Republican, they're done. They walk out. They don't even see who's on the ballot. No chance. So if he does that, he'll lose to the Republican because he's in a very Republican district. They'll walk in, click Republican, assume he's one of them, he'll lose. That's why he can't do it. It's impossible. He will lose because of straight ticket voting. And again, most people don't know what that is. That's how that works in many states. The system is set up to make sure third parties never win. Now, what has to happen? If Massie could do something like, by the way, maybe run for president one day, well, if we have 50 state ballot access, we would take him in a heartbeat. Massie at his heart is obviously libertarian, but he also wants to win and make impact. And he does that by being a Republican. I wish that wasn't true. I wish it wasn't true. But sadly for him, it is. I get it. Not everybody can fight the fight the way you and I fight it. Some of them have to fight it by being part of the establishment.
He's someone I might be interested in talking to because he's been very vocal about pushing back against giving foreign aid, like just very vocal, regardless if his party leadership says, no, we are going to give this aid to Ukraine or we're going to give this aid to Israel. He's been very vocal about just pushing back against that. He's been very vocal about being pro free speech and actually meaning that. And not putting forth legislation that he knows is against free speech. So I feel like on those issues, he's pretty like rock solid. But what I noticed with that interview that he had with Pasta, I noticed that when Pasta tried to make the connection to, what's happening in the countries abroad and why people are coming here from those countries, and because of the foreign policy strategies and imperialism from the United States, it seemed like he didn't make that connection. So that's someone I would be interested in talking to.
He might not have, to be fully. And if you guys want to check it out, I was actually on Pasta's show also. You can check out his page, and we talked about the same exact issue. A lot of people think that libertarians are the Republicans who call themselves libertarians. They're not. Right? At one time, Ben Shapiro called himself a libertarian. He's not. Yes, he's not. Right? Libertarians are actually guys like me. And believe it or not, what people don't get is we actually have a lot in common with people on the right and the left. We have areas where we completely, in fact, we have areas where we go further than people on the left sometimes, right? Further on the people on the right sometimes. So we do overlap on certain things. It's very true. The power of the LP, Libertarian Party, is it gives you a place to go, particularly if you can run locally. Libertarians, I would say, don't win, but we win locally all the time. We do. It's very true. In New York State in 2018, when I did have ballot access, in 2019, we had 107 local victories in 2019. And you might go, is that a lot? We had 0. We're from 0 to 107 in 1 year. And then New York State then changed all the ballot access laws in the middle of a cycle during lockdowns. And that's how we lost everything. That was the Democrats doing that. Then when I fought back against it in 2022, the Republicans sued me. So both sides got rid of me. It didn't really matter either way. So I know people get upset about third parties, but the system is broken against us. And there are times when people say, I don't care. I want somebody. And would we take a Thomas Massey? 100%. 100% we take him. We take Justin Amash. We take Thomas Massey. Of course we would. We take him. Yes. There's a lot of libertarians actually who would also take, he's a very popular guy. He's the governor of Colorado, Jared Polis. Yeah, a lot of libertarians like him too. So he probably also could win if he wanted to run for president, something like that. Anyone like that, we would love that. We would love all those things, right? People often think that libertarians are about big business. Not at all. We are only about small business, independent property rights. And every policy, if anyone cares about my policies, all the time, I speak about policies about helping individual people. And when Bobby Kennedy came, he talked about small farms, right? He talked about local farmers, right? We were all like clapping. Yes, homesteaders. We love that stuff. So I do think it's good that we have an LP. I think it does still provide a very valuable resource, but it's also something else. Libertarians are like herding cats. Spike Cohen said this. He said it's like herding cats on meth, and you're on meth, and everybody's on meth. That's a quote from Spike Cohen. So I love that quote, but that's not mine. And he's right. But you know what? I would rather have it that way. I know some people were mad with people who actually tried to run for our nomination, but I'm happy we had an open nomination process. I'm not mad at that. I'm happy we did. It showed that anybody can come in and we would pick the person who we thought was the right person. I think that's it. So by the way, if your chat wants to give me some questions, I'm happy to take any questions or comments from your chat. I don't mind at all.
Be careful with that one.
No. Look, I've been doing this for a long time. They can get mad at me, say things they want. No worries. Absolutely. They can yell at me. I don't mind at all. Whatever they want. All good. I'm happy to take them.
What do you think about the comments that have been made about the actual, like the Libertarian nominee, which is Chase Oliver? I saw him do a third party debate. I thought he did a phenomenal job along with the other candidates there as well. What do you think about the criticism that has been delivered more so from people on the right, calling him a woke candidate?
Yeah, the Libertarian Party really has fallen into, I think, the same world that most of mainstream America has, which is the culture war, right? Most of mainstream America fights the culture war. and doesn't bother thinking about the issues. They go, I'm on team blue and team blue says X, therefore team red is bad, or I'm on team red and then whatever team red says is right, whatever team blue is bad, and that's it. They fight culture wars. We had a similar situation within a Libertarian Party. It started around 2020-ish in that area. I'm not exactly sure exactly when that area. And what wound up happening is the left and right side of the party wanted to fight a culture war. And they did. And one side won, and the other side is attacking the side that won. In 2022, there was a kind of a takeover from the more right-leaning side of the party. The left attacked them mercilessly. Now the left, Chase Oliver, has been elected, and the right attacks him mercilessly. So it is horrible infighting, which I can't stand. I try to stay above it to the best of my ability, but it just hurts the party. We're so small, and the civil war within our small party makes it extra deadly. It's not helpful. What I told both sides when it happens is, why are you burning down the house that you're going to buy back in 2 years? And that's the problem. They're going to buy back the house to you. No one can run Libertarian Party. People don't realize this. The Libertarian Party is run fully by volunteers. Fully. Our chair is not getting a salary. The Libertarian National Committee gets no salary. It's all volunteers. That's all it is. It's just volunteers. Give me a super chat.
Larry, be careful what you wish for, because thank you for the super chat. Laugh. Libertarians are spoiled children. Ask Larry how long he relied on earning minimum wage to exist and how he pulled himself up by his bootstraps to get out of poverty. I know this story, but for those who don't, go ahead, Larry.
I will tell Laugh 66 what is rad. Libertarians are spoiled children. We lose all the time. None of us are spoiled. Please tell me one person who's been running things who's libertarian in America. None. Nobody. All the damage that you see in the UK, if you are British, I see a pound there, in America, you see, has all been done by Republicans and Democrats. Or what do you guys got? Your left and your right, what do you have, your Tories and your Labor, whatever your thing is over there? The same thing. The two-party system has been beating you up. And if you are struggling, it's not because libertarians. You're struggling because your two-party system put you in this spot. That's number one. Number two, how did I do it? I grew up poor in the Bronx, smart guy. I was adopted. My dad died when I was 11. I was broke. I had to join the military so I could pay for my college. So I survived many years before I pulled myself up on my bootstraps. And now, yes, I am a consultant, and I do make good money now. Yes, I do. And I proudly do that 100%. So, yeah, I'm not ashamed at all of my background that I came from the Bronx and that I got my butt kicked as a youngster, or that I got my butt kicked as a professional. In 2008, 2009, the crash crushed me. I got devastated, had to fire all my employees, shut my business down. It was a devastation for me. And I built myself back up from then. It does not mean that everybody can or should. To be very clear, I'm not a bootstrap guy. I am a freedom guy. If you want to have a job and work, you should. If you want to have a business, you should be able to. We should be able to use entrepreneurship to grow. That is how my family pulled itself out of the Bronx. It's how many of my friends did. But unfortunately now, because of Democrats, Republicans, there is corporate capture all over the place. And where I grew up in the Bronx, it's a true story. Back in the 70s, I'm telling you how old I am now. Back in the 70s when I grew up, there was a pizza joint called Joe's Pizza. Joe's Pizza was owned by a local guy who lived there. When he retired, he gave it to his daughter. It became Paula's Pizza. Now it's a Subway. And the guy who owns it lives in Connecticut. That's how our areas are now. Sadly, we don't own our own neighborhoods anymore. We don't own them. And it's terrible. Libertarians would never allow that to happen. And every policy I ever made for governor was never about that. It was always about helping people and to grow to the best of their ability. Always.
All right. I got one more for you. And then I want to ask you about what happened in Argentina. Thank you, Natalie. Are libertarians in favor of worker co-ops? Good question, Natalie. Larry?
100%. Yes, it is all about ownership. 100%. Right? People think that libertarians are against unions or against co-ops. Not at all. Now, I'm on record with saying this, right? The reality of it is if you want to have a co-op, of course you should have a co-op. Ownership is better. If we want people to grow, you either want one of two things, if not both. Strong unions and or people owning their own labor, or some combination, whatever works best for you, right? Some people don't want ownership in a company or business. They want to just get paid Okay, then strong union, good idea. Some people say, no, I want to own the means of production. Awesome, then you should be able to have a co-op, 100%. I actually had a policy in New York State. You might think Democrats in New York State, far left, as they say, we know that's not true, but they say far left, they don't talk about co-ops. I literally had a plan in New York State that what you could do is you give everyone a 60 or 90-day window. If any company is going to go out of business for any reason, you keep the vultures at bay for 90 days, allowing time for workers to purchase the business if they want to, right? They could purchase the business if they want to purchase it, they may. And you might go, Larry, where do they get the money from? Public bank. Public bank allows for local co-op banking, which is literally credit unions. Those credit unions can support people purchasing co-ops, and the government, which I'm going to give them money anyway. I'm going to give you the workers' comp, or I'm going to give you, your unemployment. Instead, I'll give it up front completely. Take it all up front. That can now be matched with the money coming from the public bank or the credit union by the business. Have the workers own it. No worries whatsoever. I've never heard a Democrat in my state ever bring up anything like that, ever. I did. My exception with unions. Public sector unions negotiate with the wrong people. Public sector unions are bad for one reason, not because unions are bad, because they negotiate with the governor. Wrong person to negotiate with. The governor's not his money. Public sector unions should have all of their contracts, all of them, absolutely okayed through ballot initiatives, the people who they service. Let the people do that. And you're negotiating. Be as strong or as weak as you want as a union. Labor should be able to fight in the business, in the free market, just like anybody else. And I'll add one more thing. Most libertarians also know that in today's world, you have to have antitrust laws. Just have to. You have to break up monopolies. Monopolies destroy all of this. If the government's going to do anything, if it's going to do anything, it has to break up monopolies. Its goal has to be to support the little guy and to support individual property rights and individual rights. I hope I answered that question.
Thank you so much. I want to bring up your attention to this about Argentina. Milei, who's been a very controversial figure in Argentina, obviously. Yep. Kim Iverson pointed this out earlier today. We are going to change Argentina. We are going to make it the most liberal country in the world. Mr. Milei told a conference in Buenos Aires. The reforms not only cut taxes, but they cut pensions. They left thousands suddenly without jobs, and they privatized public resources, if anyone is wondering why the country has broken out in riots. Argentina needs shock reform, which is always painful. Milei's measures are yet to prove positive. Since he's been in office, inflation has soared to 300%, poverty has increased to 55%, and the recession has deepened. Maybe things need to get worse before they get better, or maybe anarcho-capitalism will fail. So that is, she's referring to what happened earlier today. Riots are spreading across Argentina's capital after Milei's controversial tax reforms passed the nation's Senate in a closely contested vote yesterday. I want to get your opinion about that, what's happening in Argentina.
I know it's very tough, and I'm going to say what people are not going to like, but I'm going to say it anyway because I believe it. We have to wait. That's what I can say. We have to wait. Argentina was in a terrible spot no matter what, and Milei may fail, and he may succeed. It was going to be painful no matter what. I don't want to judge this until it's been probably about a year, until we can go back and go, let's see what actually happened. And I know people don't like it. They want to jump on board, but here's the problem. When you just jump and change, very often you make things a whole lot worse. I want to let it just work. Let the Argentinians find their problems, fill their issues. The last years have not worked for them at all. It was 300% inflation before he got there. They were a disaster before he got there. So it wasn't like he walked in and it all happened. It was already happening. There's certain things that are positive, though. There are certain things that are positive. There is a surplus, has not been one. Yes, there's riots. We've had riots here in America, too. And they were sometimes good and sometimes bad. The market is rallying. That's something that's happening. And the Senate approved it. So it wasn't like he just did it by stamping it. He did not. He did it. He went through his Congress. I think it's the Senate. No, it's the Senate, I think there. Whatever he has. His legislature. He went through his legislature and they said, yes, this is not him, being a tyrant. His legislature agreed to this and he's cut his government and he has a surplus. I think you have to see if it works. I know I'm sure your chat is yelling at me right now, but it doesn't matter. It's what I honestly feel. I think we have to do it that way.
I don't think we should tell people in poverty that they need to wait.
We shouldn't tell them anything. They should. I should be telling Argentinians nothing. They should be dealing with it. I'm not concerned about that at all. Let them deal with it the way they want to. I am not telling them. Look, you can talk about all kind of problems that they have. They have to fix it. American intervention has not panned out well for almost everybody we've intervened with. So I have an idea.
I agree with you about intervention. I don't think
I don't want to intervene at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think the right message to send is to they just need to wait it out.
No, from us. What we should do, just wait it out, let it go. Let them handle their issues. That's what I'm saying. We should not be petitioning them, trying to stop them, trying to anything. Let them deal with their own issues. That's the issue. Okay. We have our own problems. We have tons of problems here in our own country that we need to be working about. They'll deal with their issues. What I say is good luck to him. I hope he succeeds. That is what I will say. That's my view. I hope he succeeds.
Okay, I misunderstood that. There's another one here for you, Larry. Greg Bruce says, recently Massey said essentially that U.S. foreign policy can't be blamed for illegal immigration because it's all Biden's fault. That was what I was talking about with what he said to Posser during the interview. Curious, Larry. Yeah,
that's what absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. No. The vast majority of our immigration problems are because of our foreign policy. And the second reason is because of our horrible laws and the way we deal with our border in general, right? So our foreign policy isn't the only reason. It's the biggest reason. There are other reasons why immigration is collapsing and terrible, but that's the number one reason. We are destabilizing the world and then wondering why people come here, right? But also our laws are bad on top of it, right? First off, we should not have asylum laws. Those are all stupid. Those are from the Cold War. They shouldn't exist. If you want to come to our country, you should be able to come on a certain type of visa. We can pick the visas we want, come to a port of entry, put together an actual. I'm going to say what's going to make your audience mad, but it's still correct. I'm still right when I say this on this one. I know I'm right. The answer is across this country right now, across this world, right now, literally thousands upon thousands of people cross borders in businesses all the time. People aren't being killed. People aren't being attacked. People aren't robbing, except for extortion, that type of stuff, right? But people aren't being physically robbed. None of that. Why can't we follow those same rules for someone comes into an Ellis Island type environment here in America? Literally have a recruiting company. Literally open up a bunch of Ellis Islands. Come on in. Okay, what do you need? Who are you? Background check. What's going on? All those things. What states opt in? Here's where you go. Boom, done. And then how to get paid? The same way recruiters get paid now. They get paid by the company who hires them. Done deal. Life is good. You could easily set that up, and that would ease 50% of our immigration overnight. And of course, stop bombing people and overthrowing their governments and everything else that we do. So you combine those two, you could fix our problem in a year. You would see a massive change.
One more for you, Larry, from Ruben. What's the process from having ran GOP for U.S. House to Libertarian socially? I got bigger after primaries with a margin called the Fed per se concept bill. Later found out, I don't know if this is Ron Paul or Rand Paul, but R. Paul from District Texas 14, or maybe that's not either one of them.
That would be Ron. That would be Ron. Ron Paul's from Texas. Rand Paul's from Kentucky.
Okay.
This would be Ron Paul.
So I guess he's asking, what's the process from having ran GOP for U.S. House to Libertarian socially?
It's all you have to do to be voted. If you want to run Libertarian, is go to your local state chapter, say you want to run locally, and they will probably put you on. We don't have that many people who want to run Libertarian, sadly. I wish we had more. So the odds are very high that they would actually want to do this. So yes, shouldn't be hard at all.
This is interesting. I wonder if someone like Robbie would be interested in running. Robbie Salve.
He's not a libertarian.
He is a libertarian.
He's a Republican who pretends to be a libertarian. He's not a libertarian.
What?
Robbie Salve wouldn't know a libertarian if it bit him on the ass. He has no idea. He's not a libertarian. Stop that. Stop.
He calls himself a libertarian on the show.
All the time. But when's the last time you heard him mention one libertarian candidate on his show? One. Thank you. Never. Never. He never mentions them ever. He never has them on. He never talks about them. Never says he's voting for. Nothing. Ever. Have you ever seen from Reason Magazine, who he works for, have you ever seen a positive piece of anything from them talking about a candidate who's running for office, a libertarian? Ever seen a positive piece from them? You can't remember. They hate the Libertarian Party. Reason does nothing but takes a lot. Reason will go out of its way to make Libertarian Party feel terrible. I literally never talk to Reason. Ever. Ever.
I thought Reason was a libertarian show.
Oh, Reason's Republicans who hate Trump. Reason's Republicans who hate Trump. No, they're not libertarians. Stop that. No, they're not. When's the last time you saw? When's the last time you saw them do anything positive about any libertarian running for office? They will take their time. They'll have Thomas Massey talk about him all day long. He's Republican. They'll talk about Ron Paul all day long. He's Republican. They'll talk about Rand Paul. They'll have Rand Paul on that show, on the Rising show, every other week. He's Republican. Of course.
I'll be damned.
Of course.
Well, I guess I have a lot to learn still when it comes to.
Absolutely.
Don't come for me, Robbie.
Yeah. Somebody actually in your chat says he remembers that pizza joint.
Yeah, that's New York Varsity. Yeah.
Yes, he remembers it. I'm not making it up. That's a true story. It went from Joe's Pizza to Paula's Pizza to a Subway. Yes, true story.
Interesting.
That's why I grew up by Yankee Stadium. For those of you who know, that's where I grew up. I grew up by Yankee Stadium is where I grew up. Yes.
Awesome. And this is from Roger Meadows. Thank you, Roger. That's the right of first refusal law, Larry. Yep. Yes.
And I think that's an important piece. I think we really have to start. One of the major reasons why co-ops aren't taken seriously in America is not because they work or don't work. It is because bankers in the finance community believe they don't work because they won't have control over the actual company. So when you start to make it to when you start seeing more success, more people will back it, right? And that's why you have to have something like credit unions to begin that process. The fighting against co-ops is much more of a cultural issue than it is a financial issue, believe it or not. It's a cultural issue first. If people start seeing it, then they'll actually start doing it. And again, as long as it's voluntary, I think it's great. The idea is the Amish can happily survive in a libertarian community, in a libertarian world, but the Amish cannot survive in an authoritarian world. In the authoritarian world, the minorities are the first people who are attacked. In the libertarian world, minorities are the first people who are protected.
Interesting. Well, Larry, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
You can just Google Larry Sharpe. I'm on all the things. I'm on everything from Twitter to YouTube to Facebook to MeWe, all the things. You name it, I'm on it. Larry Sharpe on all the things. If you do care about some of my policy issues, if you are a policy wonk, if you are, I actually did 8 hours straight of policy to save New York in 2022, 8 hours straight. It is time-stamped if you care. How to fix New York State. I didn't take a bathroom break or eat or drink or anything. I just sat there and talked about policy. I am one of the rare people who is a libertarian who doesn't only talk about just, ideas and philosophy. I talk a lot about actual policies. I was on Joe Rogan. If anyone's seen my Joe Rogan interview, you can. Larry Sharpe, Joe Rogan. Talked about him in 2018. Glenn Beck a bunch of times in 2018. So hopefully you will see me soon.
All right, Larry. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Bye. All right, guys, that was Larry Sharpe. Interesting conversation. This is why it's really good to, again, bring on people that you don't agree with on everything, right? Because it does make the conversation more interesting there. But I have to keep that in mind about Robbie now. To keep that in mind.